Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and January is often the month I refer to as the existential crisis month. Now why is that? Because after months of reviews, news, discussions, breaking information, all of it comes to a standstill in January, and I'm left to sit there and ponder about my career. Have I made the right choice? There's no traffic, there's nothing to talk about. Am I in the right spot in life after all? And then I get hit like a freight train. Tons of game news happens and I'm like, I've been in the right spot all along. So you may be wondering what that has to do with today's video. Well, January, it hasn't been that slow in the scheme of things. We talked about Elder Scrolls 6, we talked about Cyberpunk, we got that patch coming up, and now today we have the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster with a potentially big leak. We're talking about the release date, we're talking about PC upgrades. There's a lot to discuss in today's video, so get cozy because you know your boy is hyped for this game, right? If there's any way that 2021 can bounce back, it's starting off the year with the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster. And if these leaks are to be believed, it might be next month, and that would be hype. But anyway, this information broke towards the end of December. Obviously, your boy was on a bit of a staycation, so I did not get to this information right away. I do apologize for that. But the fact that this rumor lingers on and has not been amended in any way, and in fact, we've only received additional information, I think lends some credibility to this release window. So let's get comfortable and discuss. It all starts off with GameSpot's article where they are rounding up information for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and they talk about a release date. They go, BioWare hasn't announced a release date for this new Mass Effect game. Given that the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is scheduled to release for Xbox One, PS4, and PC in February 2021, and other teams within BioWare are still in the midst of redesigning Anthem and working on Dragon Age 4, we assume that this new Mass Effect is still a ways out. Okay. So GameSpot is saying that this is coming in February. This article was published on Christmas Eve. So they've had a lot of time to go back, to amend this, to change this, because oftentimes press will get exclusive packages of information from companies on when games are projected to release so that they can time their coverage in a proper manner and they can be ahead of the game and ready to talk about all the various pieces of content that is going to be offered for this game. Interestingly, this article from Bleeding Cool was published on December 12th of 2020. So there was a 12-day gap between this article from Bleeding Cool and then the one afterwards from GameSpot on Christmas Eve. Now, I did some reading trying to analyze these articles, and the reason I did that is I wanted to make sure this wasn't a case where maybe someone from GameSpot saw an article on admittedly a less popular site, and I mean that with no disrespect, just I'm talking general traffic here, and kind of copied the information verbatim. So I looked at the fine print. It doesn't look like that's the case. I don't want to assume too hard because I know that's obviously the cardinal sin of journalism, but it's still something I had to make sure wasn't occurring here because the gap is indeed there with enough time for that research to happen. But anyway, both these articles exist. Both of them are saying that February 2021 is the month that the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster is coming. And this would make sense for a number of reasons we're going to get into, but how about some further explanation on exactly why February 2021 was put in the article. Now, we didn't have GameSpot directly respond to this request for information, but Bleeding Cool did. In fact, the writer of this article did respond to people on Twitter about what exactly was going on with that release window. So let's go ahead, give the tweet a read, and then we'll discuss some more. Gavin was tweeted by Harris, that article of yours on the new Mass Effect helped an old fan regain some hope. As the info you put in and the way you wrote made me think, dang, this sounds better than Andromeda. Just wondering, is the release date of February 2021 for Legendary Edition real? To which Gavin says, February 2021 is the estimated date according to info we have received. But the reality is it could be pushed back to Q2, so the latest would be June. Now, what's interesting about this is if you go to the blog post from the Mass Effect Legendary Edition announcement, they spotlight that this game is coming out spring 2021, which would plant it sometime between March and June, which would make a lot of sense there. But then again, this is a remaster. The reason why this is all a question is because the remaster could come out at any point in time, given the fact that it's not like a fully produced AAA game. You know, the game has already been made. They're just updating aspects of it. To the extent of which those upgrades are, we have no idea. But why does February also make sense, despite what Gavin has said, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second? Well, do you remember the book called The Art of the Mass Effect Trilogy Expanded Edition? This is something we have talked about since like day one of the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster rumors, and now it's showing its face again, and its release date, as you can already see, is February 23rd, 2021. So, you got this coming out in February. You got maybe the game coming out in February. This would make a lot of sense. What I could actually see happening is right now the window that the press was informed by was sometime in late February, which would lead to maybe an early March release, so you could have the book come out first. So usually the book will come out ahead of the game's launch because you want to capitalize on the hype sales, right? The people who just want something now, so they pick up this book. If they have the ability to get the game first, then they're probably not going to pick up the book afterwards. I mean, you could argue that they will really like the game and then get more media afterwards. I guess it could work either way. Just in my head, it would make more sense to get people in that little vacuum where they need to fill the void. And so they hop in, they pick up this art book. So I think the release date of this book does lend a little bit to exactly what's going on here with this release date. Of course, if it is coming out February 2021, I would expect it late February. But if this does also end up being true, we're gonna have to learn more about this game soon, right? And given the fact that it is a remaster, I'm sure that they can take their time because most of us have an expected quality with the product, right? We like know what Mass Effect already is, so it doesn't really need the supreme marketing that we've seen in other games because it kind of speaks for itself. We already know Mass Effect 1 through 3 is kind of a proven trilogy, so it's an easy sale for EA.
Also, we are now starting to see more release date rumors cropping up, so if it's not going to fall into February, like I started talking about with March, it seems like that very well may be the case because Video Games Chronicles, as well as GameSpot, has reported that Mass Effect remasters have been listed for a March release date. Video Game Chronicle writes up saying, as spotted by Twitter user IdleSloth, both retailers Shop at Tree and GS Shop are listing Mass Effect Legendary Edition for a release on March 12th. Meanwhile, as I have said in this video, in its announcement, EA said the remaster would release in spring of 2021. Now, March 12th does fall on a Friday. This would make sense for a video game release. We're finally starting to see that shift from the weird-ass Tuesday to now Friday. So there is hope that sometime within the next couple months, we're going to see something. To me, this date feels a little bit more plausible given its Friday release, and also it does fall more into that spring window that we were talking about, and it's not something along the lines of the February, which is being said, but this does indicate, I think, that the press knew more than they were letting on. So fingers crossed, man. One of these dates has to be real.
GameSpot, however, had nothing to say on this, and once again, I do want to suggest the possibility that they maybe saw Bleeding Cool's article and then took that information, but it's also possible based off what Gavin had said, which is that that was the info they had received, that other members of the press have received that, and maybe it wasn't supposed to go public. We have seen other news sites leak dates, leak information, and then quickly try to clean it up. What's interesting here is neither site has done such. So I wonder why they're putting February there, when of course we have the spring release date according to BioWare, unless it's coming out sooner than we had expected, because this game got greenlit, it seems like very late, right? I mean, we knew about this game for months and months and months, and even at like EA Play back in June when it was a pretty strong rumor, we still got nothing. We had to wait a very, very long time. So it seems like with the release date, it could be either next month or maybe they do wait into some of the deeper months closer to the summer. We shall see, but for now, that is the latest on the release date leaks for Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster. Now, I wanted to talk about another aspect, of course, because I just didn't want to sit here and talk about a release date for like 10 plus minutes. I wanted to talk a little bit about PC upgrades, because I saw a Reddit thread discussing exactly how Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster could be handled, because pre-orders are now live for this game, which is definitely a good sign. By the way, I would recommend don't pre-order games. I mean, you know, certain situations speak for themselves, but we know nothing about this game and the quality of the product, so don't go pre-ordering. But the reason I bring this up is because we can right now pre-order the PC version for $60, and the game across the board is $60. A lot of people were wondering, why is that the case? Are they going to make any changes, or is it just upgrades? And the Burnout Paradise remaster was one that a lot of folks had brought up as a comparison, as a pointed discussion to what EA does in the past with remasters, where you kind of just bump up the resolution, you update some of the textures, and then you resell it for $60. So just know that I don't think the price tag is going to be indicative of the amount of effort put in here. Like, don't look at $60 and go, oh my God, yes, $60, they're putting so much in here. It's just that they know, kind of like Nintendo with repackaging their old games, you're willing to pay $60 for something that you already have, because it's just hype, let's be real here. But when it comes to the PC release, the reason I highlighted that specifically is because we still have no word on exactly what they're going to do with, let's say you own Mass Effect 1 through 3 on PC already. Will you be able to get a free upgrade for the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster when it releases, or a discounted upgrade? How's that going to work? Because we've seen EA intermingle in a very specific way that I don't think a lot of people really talked about, and that is with the Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning release. For those who don't know, to get the upgrade for Re-Reckoning, you had to pay $20, and that game I thought was, as a remaster by the way, not as a game itself, I love the game, but as a remaster, I found it very disappointing. And one of those reasons was, for example, they didn't do so much with the game that would justify $20 extra out of your pocket if you already own the game. So EA is known to try to wring companies and consumers dry of any bit of cash when it comes to these upgrades for old products. So I would sort of expect the same when it comes to the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster, at least if history is anything to go off of, and sort of what we see now with pre-order pricing, and we see just a PC version on its own. I wouldn't be surprised if EA was a little more reluctant to give you your full product without you paying a dime. So just keep your expectations in check. I imagine we're going to get information very soon, but the reality is, like with most remasters, we're probably going to get that information very close to the release. So it may end up feeling like a huge void if we end up having to wait to, say, April, right? We got to wait till April. There may be no information, then we hit April and the game's coming out in 2 weeks from that point in April. So it can just come on us very fast. So we just got to stay patient, but hopefully the information in these articles stays true, that this game is in fact coming sometime in February. It would be an awesome way to start the year between that and Nier Replicant. Oh man, I would be in heaven. So I can't wait. Looking forward to seeing more on this game and just learning what they're doing with it, how they're modernizing aspects of the first game especially. That is my biggest question mark. So time will tell, but anyway, that's the latest on the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Are you still excited for this? What do you think of the release date leaks? Do you buy into it? Fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the heck out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.